Alright, some great stuff in this video that I know you're going to enjoy, and we're not jumping straight into the advanced firewall wizard because I did mention a couple times during the basic wizard videos that we were going to talk about what that IP Unicast Rpf thing was that the basic firewall wizard configured on one of our interfaces. We're going to talk about that for a minute here. I'm going to tell you where to go to master multicasting if you ever really want to. It's certainly not on the NA Security Lab, but it's a good topic to learn. And I've got some configs here. I want to share with you a couple things on a new router that I just configured for the Advanced Firewall Wizard Lab. It's the same model, but a couple things I want to show you that I didn't share with you earlier when I was preparing a router, because frankly, we had enough to learn at that point. So let's talk about this reverse path forwarding. And if there's anything that sounds like I don't know, the total opposite. I mean, you got reverse and then you got forwarding, you know. I mean, what in the world is going on with this? Well, let's look at Wikipedia's definition, because this is a pretty solid definition. RPF is a technique used in modern routers for the purposes of ensuring loop-free forwarding of multicast packets in multicast routing. Well, that sounds fantastic, except it has nothing to do with anything we've been doing in this course. So let's read the rest of the definition. And to help prevent IP address spoofing in unicast routing. Yes, that is what we're talking about here. So when it comes to reverse path forwarding, Wikipedia goes into the multicast RPF thing here, and this is fantastic, but it's all multicasting. It's not something we're doing in the NA security, but it is something you're going to want to learn down the road. Unicast RPF is actually what we're looking at here, and I'm certainly not going to read the entire thing to you because you can go to Wikipedia on your own time. But the reason I show Wikipedia here a couple times in this course as well, I think this is the most underused resource. And it sounds strange, like Wikipedia, are you kidding me? But for learning networking, you know, yeah, it's a little hard to read, just like Cisco Press stuff is. It's like stirring concrete with your eyelashes from time to time. But there's some great info out here. It's just another good source of information for you. And when they mention here, it was defined in RFC 3704, is an evolution of the concept that traffic from known invalid networks should not be accepted on interfaces from which they never should have originated. Sounds like a good idea to me. You notice the very next line mentions the original idea, as seen in RFC 2827, was to block traffic on an interface if it is sourced from RFC 1918 private addresses. And you thought you'd never see those addresses again, didn't you? And we saw them on the whiteboard. We saw them in the configs that we pasted onto the whiteboard and examined, that we were preventing those. You know, we were not accepting traffic if they were sourced from those addresses. And there's some more info there for you. It's worth 5 minutes of your time, certainly. Before I bring up the router, I wanted to mention here as far as multicasting goes, because I'm just being frank here, just being honest, not bashing anybody. Some of the multicasting explanations out there in some of the books are horrible. I don't know any other way to put it, and I say that from experience because when I was studying for the IE lab, I mean, I had all the other stuff down. I thought, you know, you never really know till you go to the lab. Multicasting was killing me. And it was just like, I just can't believe that I can't wrap my head around this. It doesn't seem that hard. It's not, but you have to have a good book. You have to have a good guide. And Jeff Doyle's Cisco Press Volume 2 book in his TCP/IP series has the best multicasting information I've ever read. It's really good stuff, and you do not have to be prepping for the IE lab to enjoy that book. So there's some good material in there, period. It's one of the best technical manuals I've ever read. But definitely the multicasting material in there is really, really solid. So let's take a look at the router now, and a couple things I wanted to show you as far as the setup. First off, I wanted to show you the PKI information, because you know the commands that we've got to put on the router before we can run CCP. Remember those? We got to put IP HTTP server, then secure server, and that's what generates this certificate. Then authentication local, and then the timeout policy command. And then, of course, you've got to put the local username database, password database on there as well. But notice now that we've gotten more advanced in our studies. I didn't want to hit you with all this when we did it earlier in the course. But notice all the PKI information here mentions self-signed. And that's exactly what's gone on here. We've got a self-signed certificate now as a result of running the IP HTTP secure server command. And here's even the common name, iOS self-signed certificate, etc. Notice the revocation check none. Well, there's no reason to check to see if the certificate that you yourself signed has been revocated. That's just too much Zen for one thing anyway. But you're not going to have a revocation check. Just wanted to show you that. Now, also notice I've got my username and everything else on there. And what I've done, a couple things different here. Here are the HTTP commands, by the way. I have created a loopback for the advanced lab because I want to show you the options for a DMZ. Now, obviously, you are not going to create, in a real-world network, you're not going to create a DMZ with a loopback interface. But I'm limited in the interfaces on this particular router, I noticed. So I'm using my physical 00 for my inside interface. That's 10.1.1/24. 0/1 is going to be my outside untrusted interface. Note that I don't have an IP address on that because I want you to see what happens in the firewall wizard if that is the case. And also, let's see, so we've got that, and like I said, we've got the HTTP commands right there, and that's really about it. That's just what I wanted to show you as far as the router config, but definitely that self-signed certificate. So now we're going back up to Cisco Configuration Professional. Let me shrink that down and this way and enlarge it this way. Using a new program for the recordings. The only thing is I don't like is once you launch this recording area, it doesn't let you move other stuff around. So no problem at all. We'll go ahead and go to Configure. And we're going to go to Firewall and click on Firewall this time. And you'll notice you had just a moment there where you saw a red X and it went away. What's going to happen is when I reloaded this router, you know, it was CCP was still up, so it immediately said, hey, you know, I lost this router, but I had it rediscovered before I started. So you'll just see that message for about a split second. Now here's the advanced firewall setting. And you'll notice, you know, launch the selected task looks much like it did before. And let me read a little bit of this to you because this is a little bit different, of course, than the basic one was. Advanced Firewall allows you to secure your private network in the following ways. It allows private network users to access the internet. It protects your router and private network from outside attacks. It allows you to configure managed services in DMZ that are accessible from the internet. Advanced Firewall applies default policies to inside, trusted, outside, untrusted, and DMZ zones. Inspect TCP, UDP, and other protocols from the inside zone to outside zone, as well as router-generated ICMP traffic. Block HTTP port misuse for instant message P2P, as well as block all MSN, Yahoo, AOL servers, and will write the event to log. So a lot going on there, and deny traffic from outside zones to inside zones. So a lot going on here this time, and you'll notice that I've got my fast Ethernet interface and my loopback interface. Fast Ethernet 00 is not appearing because I did not give it an IP address. So if you see this, especially in a lab environment when you do a lot of write erasing, you do a lot of resetting, it's easy to miss an interface like that. So now all of a sudden I don't have my fast Ethernet 00. Again, if you don't see it, you probably just forgot to put an IP address on it. That's the first thing I would check. So being a good soldier, I will go out here and let me shrink this window up so you can see what's going on there. There we go. And we'll go to Internet Fast 01, IP address 210.111. We'll do a no shut. And we should certainly be fine. So what we'll do is just cancel that. Do you really want to exit Firewall Wizard? Yes. That's why I hit cancel. Although I appreciate you asking. And let's relaunch the selected task. We'll even give that a second to cook, so to speak. And let's see, it looks like our interface went down. And I bet I know why. Hold on one second. All right, pop quiz, my friends. You can see the interface came up, and I only paused the video for a few seconds. Which layer of the OSI model did I start troubleshooting that at? Layer 1. Cable was slightly loose. I could see it from here that I lost my link lights. So everything looks pretty good, and we're up and up. We've got our IP address, etc. So let's go ahead and bring CCP back up and go into Advanced Firewall again. We will launch the selected task. We get the same window, and our interface is not available. So what do you think here? It looks like we need to do some more troubleshooting. I'm not hiding anything from you, I promise. We just had a quick layer 1 issue, unscheduled, but that was still fine. And now I've come back in here and I still don't see it. So what do I need to do here? Is there something else I need to do? What do you think? When you have a change like that, what you're going to need to do is go back and rediscover the router. Because just because we change something on the router, it doesn't automatically kick that change out to CCP. So let's do a rediscover here. Discovery scheduled, shouldn't take all that long. Like I said, you learn so much by fixing your own stuff. The waiting is indeed the hardest part. Discovered. So we're looking good there. Let's go back to configure, security firewall. We saw that quick X there, and we're going to launch the selected task. And click next, and there's our interface. It's 0, 1. So if that happens to you, now you know exactly how to fix it. First off, you remember we always troubleshoot at layer 1. Make sure you've got your IP addresses on your interfaces. If they don't show up in any wizard, it's probably because you don't have an IP address on there. And also, after you put one on there, you've got to rediscover the hardware so CCP sees that change. Also, if you only have one interface with an IP address on it, you're actually going to get a message from CCP that says, hey, you got to have 2 interfaces or we can't do anything. 2 interfaces with IP addresses and up and working, or we can't do anything. So you see we've got the DMZ option here. And again, I created the loopback 0 so we could see the options for the DMZ. And we'll go ahead and do that now. But again, obviously you would not create a loopback interface for your DMZ in a production network. So we've got inside trusted at 0, 0, outside untrusted, fast Ethernet 0, 1. And we will go ahead and click loopback 0 for the DMZ. Now, also note, this is the same choice we had last time. Remember, allows secure Cisco CP access from outside interfaces. And we had that choice in the basic firewall wizard as well. I'm going to click next. You'll always get this message. You can't launch Cisco CP from the following interfaces after you're done, and that's fast Ethernet 0, 1. So, what you will get next, if you choose a DMZ, is a little definition here. DMZ, actually they do call it demilitarized zone here, is an area between the internet and your inside trusted network. By default, traffic initiated by hosts inside the DMZ is blocked, so we would have to open that. And let's see, just to show you this, here's the Dmz config, and you're going to put your start IP address in there, your end IP address in there, your service, whether it's TCP or UDP based, and then just click this, because this tends to get overlooked by people because it doesn't say anything, this particular box. It just has 3 dots on it. But then you're going to pick your protocol from here, and there's everything in here from NNTP, not NTP, but NNTP, which is the Network News Protocol, AOL. You've got everything in here you could ever think of in that list to set up your DMZ. But again, we're going to go ahead and cancel that because that's about as far as your NA security is going to go with the DMZ. Actually, we've gone farther with that. I doubt they go this far with the wizard, but I'd always rather show you too much than not enough. And again, it's something you'll run into in more advanced studies where you'll actually be setting it up. But I wanted you to see that, so that's why I went ahead with that loopback 0. What we're going to do here is go forward with this configuration starting in the next video, and we will go with the inside and outside interfaces and go through the rest of the firewall, advanced firewall wizard. So I will see you on the next vid.